guys, today I'm filming a first impression and follow-up on the No7 Beautifully Matte Foundation. This retails for $17.99 and you can purchase this in Target stores and on Target.com. This does come in 11 shades. 11 shades isn't amazing, but that is actually more than I thought this foundation had, and 11 can cover most of the basics. I do have to say with this shade selection, most of the lighter shades have cool pinky undertones, which sucks because you guys know I am a warm undertone gal. I actually have the second lightest shade, Cool Vanilla. The lightest shade, Calico, would probably fit me better, but this is a foundation that I got for free, so I figured I would test out the formula, and if I really loved it, I would go and buy the lightest shade of the foundation. And I'll also try this with mixers and other things to see if I can make it work, but we'll see. I haven't even tested the formula yet. So No7 is a brand that was carried at Target, but now it is carried at Ulta as well. This foundation is not at Ulta. They have a couple other foundations, but not this one. So I'm not sure if this foundation is being discontinued or repackaged or what the deal is, but I do know that you can currently buy this at Target.com and all the shades are in stock. So I'll have a link for that. But if you guys have any information on this foundation and its whereabouts and why it's not at Ulta, please let me know. So I'm going to read you the claims from the back of the packaging. It says, this has all-day velvet matte perfection. Achieve the appearance of flawless matte skin with a velvety soft finish and no powdery flatness. Blemishes and flaws are concealed and pores appear minimized, leaving you with even-toned skin that looks perfectly smooth and velvety soft all day. Those claims sound perfect for me, but let's see if it actually lives up to them. And the claims don't include coverage at all, so we'll see how much I can get. And so this is what the packaging looks like. It is very sleek. It is a slightly frosted plastic bottle, but you can actually see the color of your foundation through it. And it does come with a pump, which is fantastic, especially for the fact that this costs so much money. So as with all of my first impression and follow-ups, I'm going to be applying the foundation on one side with a sponge and one side with a brush. My sponge is the Real Techniques Miracle Complexion Sponge, and my brush is the Beauty Junkies Flat Top Kabuki. And I'm already assuming this is going to be too dark and too pink for me, but I'm going to try to look past the color and really just focus on the formula. So this seems like a pretty thick, moussey foundation. And yeah, too dark, too pink, but that is okay. So now that I have the foundation dotted on the side, I'm going to go in with my sponge and try to blend this out. Even though it's a thick foundation, it seems to actually be blending out pretty easily with a sponge. That is giving some really nice coverage with just one layer, so that's impressive. And this is one layer applied with a sponge versus no foundation. This has given great coverage. I'd say we are almost medium coverage with one layer, which is fantastic. It covered up a lot of my redness. I can still see my freckles, which I like. I really just want to cover the redness. So now that I have it dotted all over my face, I'm going to go and blend it out with my brush. And I am just going to be pressing it into my skin to give me the most coverage. And that is blending nicely. I had a really big blemish right here, and this foundation one layer covered it up perfectly. That is really impressive. So here's one layer applied with a sponge versus one layer applied with a brush. The coverage on the brush side is a little bit more, but it actually is very, very similar. So I just went and applied more product for the second layer. Can you see that the fresh product looks a lot lighter than the foundation I've already blended into my skin? So I'm not sure if it's oxidizing or it just dries down darker, which we'll see, but that is something that I can definitely notice right there. So here's two layers applied with the sponge versus one layer applied with a brush. And here's two layers applied with the sponge versus two layers applied with a brush. This foundation is definitely buildable. Right now, I would say that we have medium full coverage. This shade is definitely a little too dark and a little too pink, but it isn't terrible. As long as this doesn't oxidize, I can definitely work with it, add in a little bit of lightener, and I should be just fine. But this looks beautiful right now. This gives me such fantastic coverage. And as they said, this does look matte without being so flat. And it is a little bit tacky, but this definitely does feel like it's starting to set and dry down on my skin, which I love. So I'm going to be applying my under eye concealer and setting my face with the RCMA No Color Powder, which does not give me any color coverage or mattifying me. Right now it is 11 a.m. so I'll be back with you guys in 4 hours for my first check-in. Hey guys, I'm back for my first check-in. It is 3:30 p.m. so I've had this foundation on for 4.5 hours. I haven't been doing much. I've just been around the house and I really like this foundation so far. This does not sink into my pores whatsoever. It actually glides over top and my skin looks fantastic, but it did settle into my forehead wrinkles almost immediately and they're definitely emphasized, which I don't like. It's weird that my pores look great but my wrinkles look bad. Usually it's either both or neither. But for this one, good pores, bad wrinkles. And I'm not sure if it's oxidized or not. Let me know what you guys think. It definitely looks too dark, like real dark, real pink. But I don't know if it is darker than when I applied it. I could definitely tell how dark it was because I had actually missed a couple spots right around my jaw. And girl, it looked so bad there. So it's definitely too dark. But I love it. It does not feel heavy on my skin. It gave great coverage. I'm starting to get a little bit oily on the sides of my nose, but it's been 4 hours. That's not bad. I am not oily on my forehead or on my chin yet, so this is holding up great. And I'm really excited to see how it wears for the rest of the day. And I cannot wait to try this with a mixer because so far, really liking this foundation. So I'm going to check in with you guys in probably 3.5 hours. Hey guys, I'm back for my second check-in. It is 7 p.m. and I've had this foundation on for 8 hours. How good does my skin look for wearing foundation for 8 hours? Yes, I'm oily on the inner part of my cheek, the sides of my nose, and a little bit shiny on my forehead, but not really on my chin. And honestly, my forehead isn't as oily as it usually gets throughout the day. So I am really impressed with how well this has held up against my oil, but I am going to go ahead and blot with one piece of toilet paper. So I did get a little bit of transfer on my tissue, but not too bad. I think my skin looks amazing. I really wish I had the shade Calico now because I'm really liking this foundation. Way more impressed than I thought I would be. So I'm gonna have a text post at the end of the night once it's been 12 hours, and then I will be back tomorrow for my follow-up. Hey guys, so today I am back to film the follow-up on the No7 Beautifully Matte Foundation. Today I'll be inserting this foundation into my everyday routine so I can get a more accurate picture of how this might truly work for me. So I'm going to start off by priming my skin. I'm going to use the Lorac Perfection Mattifying Face Primer all over. And then I'm going to go in with the Makeup Forever Step 1 Smoothing Primer in my pores, on the inner part of my cheek, and on my nose. So just taking some of the Lorac primer, rubbing it between my fingers, and I am just applying this all over my skin. So then taking the Makeup Forever Smoothing Primer between my fingers, I am going to press this into my pores and then sweep over towards the outside of my face to smooth it. So now for the foundation. Yesterday I applied it with a sponge and a brush, and my favorite application method was definitely the sponge, so that is what I'll be using again today. Here's one layer of foundation applied with a sponge. And here's 2 layers of foundation applied with a sponge. I'm going to go off camera really quick and apply my under eye concealer and setting powder. So now that I've applied my under eye concealer and setting powder, I'm going to go in with my face powder. I'll be using the Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless Powder in 100 Translucent, which is not translucent. It is very fair with a yellow undertone. Because this powder does actually give some coverage and some color, I'm thinking that it will help to lighten the foundation to help it match me a little bit better. And I am going to apply it with the Real Techniques powder brush. This is going to help me set my face, give me a little bit of color, but because it's so fluffy, it isn't going to pack on a ton of extra coverage. And I am just going to apply this all over my face. And I feel like already just in the area I apply my face powder, it is looking lighter than the rest of my face. So now that I have applied my powder all over, it has definitely helped to lighten the look of my foundation. Still a bit too dark for me, but that powder did help a lot. Right now it is almost noon, so I will check back in with you guys about halfway throughout the day to give you my final thoughts on this foundation. Hey guys, I am back for my final check-in. It is 6 p.m. so I've had this foundation on for 6 hours. At the 4-hour mark, I did start to get oily on my forehead and on the sides of my nose, so I did touch up with a little bit of Rimmel Stay Matte powder. It's been 2 hours since I've touched up, and I think my skin looks fantastic. I do not look cakey or oily, so I am very happy with how easy it is to touch up this foundation and make it look flawless again. So I'm really happy with how easy it is to touch up this foundation and make it look good as new. So to give you my final thoughts on this foundation, this is one of the best drugstore foundations I have ever used. I am absolutely in love with this. It is perfect for my skin type and for my preferences. With 2 layers, this does give full coverage. I love applying it with a sponge to help it look more airbrushed and not cakey. This does almost set down to a powder finish. It sets more than any other foundation I've used. But because I'm so oily and because I just love powder, I'm gonna set my face with a powder anyway because I think it helps the cheek products blend a lot easier. I do think that this controls oil really well. I was completely matte for 4 hours, and at that point I had only gotten a little bit oily. I didn't even need to blot with a tissue. I just went in with a powder, which worked just fine. This does last on my skin all day long, and I do have really long days. This did not sink into my pores, but it did settle into my forehead wrinkles. So if you have a lot of deep wrinkles in your skin, I would recommend using a pore filling primer as a base for this. And the shade range is not perfect. As you can see, it is too dark and too pink. For the rest of the time I'm using this, I will be mixing it with my Hard Candy Glamouflage foundation in the shade Porcelain to make it lighter and more yellow. Once I use this up, I'm going to repurchase it in the shade Calico, which is lighter and I think a little bit more neutral, probably still not warm. So the shade range I don't think is going to work for everyone in terms of the undertones. The price is a little bit expensive for a drugstore foundation, but I love this more than a lot of high-end foundations I've been trying recently. So I am head over heels in love with this. I know I'm going to use it a lot, and it is going to be a summer staple for me because it did actually hold up against my oil really well. So guys, if you have really oily skin and you're looking for a good drugstore foundation, I highly, highly recommend you guys check this one out. And I would really love to know your thoughts. If you've tried out this foundation, please let me know what your skin type is as well. I wanted to thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys.